Yeah.
Hannah John here, aspiring broadcast journalist. That's right, I'm in the Big Apple and I've decided to take you with me. As you saw as the title of this documentary, it is called Consumerism, In Love with My Jordans. Now, I may not be a specialist in a pair of J's, but I wanted to know why they're so popular. Why are people willing to fork out hundreds of dollars on one pair of sneakers? The reason why I've decided to make a documentary on Jordans in particular is because of a recent mind-blowing article I read about a 15-year-old that was found murdered and strangled in a park, barefoot, murdered over a pair of Jordans. Why was this the case? A majority of the teens that were killed were between the ages of 15 and 18. To my surprise, the inspiration of the brand, the Michael Jordan, was actually aware of the death of Michael Eugene Thomas, and he was completely disheartened about it, as it says on sportsillustrated.cnn.com that he has so carefully nurtured his image as the all-American role model. He refuses to go anywhere, get into any situation that might detract from his image. And following on about hearing from the death of Michael Eugene Thomas, he said that he couldn't believe it, the fact that he was choked to death by his own friend. Now, we already know what the inspiration of the brand thought about it, but what about the New Yorkers on the street? Are they even aware? I've decided to go to Jamaica, Queens to find out from more New Yorkers their views about the ever-growing and ever-selling trainers. How do you feel like they've gone popular lately, especially in the States?
Jordans?
Yeah.
No, not lately. Jordans have always been popular.
Really?
Yeah.
How often do you see like a new release of a pair? Is it all the time?
Just like every week, like every Saturday there's a new release.
Yeah. And do you actually own a pair yourself by the time?
Yeah.
Working in a trainer store, you must be fond of Jordans themselves. Do you wear a pair regularly?
Yeah, I got about 400 pairs of Jordans.
Wow. Do you wear Jordans?
From time to time, I have.
Do you wear Jordans?
I got my favorite pair of Jordans on right now. Jordan
Nice.
number 3, cement.
No. Do you wear Jordans?
I do not. I did in high school, but I never really got into that.
Yeah, I wear a lot of Jordans, yeah.
Oh, cool. And what would you say is the most that you spent on a pair?
The most I spend on a pair?
Yeah.
Well, the most I spend is about $350.
Work in the sneaker store, so you know I got the hookup.
Yeah, you
So
got
we just gonna say $175, the regular price.
The most, I think like $150. $150 I bought on a pair of like Nike Uptowns, like these white fresh Nike Uptowns. And I bought like $80 pair of Jordans because they were on sale. And times are hard, so that's what I have to wear.
$550. I'll never forget. That was actually my favorite Jordan, infrared number 6. They came out in 1999. That's the only reason they cost so much money. I can't even wear them. That's the bad part.
Why?
If I wear them, they're gonna like crumble.
What's the most that you spent on trainers in general?
Like $120. But when I look for sneakers, it's like for running, and so it's more about like support and all of those types of things. Like I would never buy a Nike to work out in, because Nike, first of all, they're just wretchedly made shoes, and most of the shoes are made by like 6-year-old kids. Just a whole nother set of issues.
Why do you think so many Americans wear them?
I think it's like any trend that happens that is in the now, especially when you're growing up and everybody has them, and it's kind of like the next big thing, getting the 1s, the 2s, like all the numbers trying to, you know, have them. And so I think it's the reason why is just because it's such a mass-produced product that everybody gets them.
You know, Michael Jordan was the best player in the NBA, so you know everybody want to be like Mike.
Yeah.
Get a pair of Jordans, you feel like Mike.
Let's see, the first Jordan came out in 80-something, before I was born. But I know before then, sneakers were real plain. They didn't look like this exactly, but it'll be like your all-white basic tennis shoe. I would say Jordan, like, he really opened the doors. I remember he got fined like I think $1,000 or something a game because his shoes like didn't meet the qualifications for the NBA or something like that. It's groundbreaking shit.
I think it's more because of the hype, you know. A lot of people wear them, so a lot of people want to be like the rest, so they just try to follow with the trend.
Are you aware of the deaths of teenagers in New York City in the 90s over a pair of Jordans?
Yeah, it's
And what do you think about that?
It's crazy, but Jordan and the Nike company got to figure out a way to, control it. Either send more pairs out or just the prices make it easier for them to get it. If not, it's just gonna get worse. Because these kids they got their morals wrong. They rather fill for some sneakers than go out and get a job.
That's really crazy, but I mean, that's going on regardless whether it's for sneakers or something else. The way this world's going on nowadays is just absolutely crazy.
Before, my mother would never ever let me buy them. She said over her dead body that she will ever buy a pair of Jordans for me. And I was really obsessed with this girl who was my best friend, but she had every single pair of Jordans. And so like she knew how obsessed I was with them that she actually gave me a pair of her Jordans that she didn't want anymore. So I felt like that was like a very beautiful gift.
Outside, I see people get stabbed for some sneakers. Yeah, it's that real.
And do you feel like consumerism and just buying everything that is the latest, do you think it's taking over New York City?
I mean, I think it is, but I'd rather have people spending money on sneakers than spending money on other things.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I think it's a larger issue about American society and what we put into materialism and how we self-identify by how expensive, the things we put on our body are. It's an issue. But I mean, if somebody can afford them and, they have a job and, they can afford a pair of $300 sneakers and, that I tend to judge often, but I wouldn't judge that necessarily. Now, if it's a kid who doesn't have a job who, is kind of spending his last on a pair of Jordans, I think that's kind of silly.
The difference between like New York City and like Cuba, that's like just a random example, but it's just like you can see the difference where I have friends from Cuba who are very confused of this consumerism culture because it lacks like quality and like kind of love for people, and like it's just more like money, clothes, shoes, bags, belts, and nothing else. It's always about what you're wearing and not about who you are.
These sneakers right here are the ugliest sneakers in the world. But a rapper got it on, or a movie star, everybody knows it. But if a rapper or movie star is out getting jobs, then nobody gonna try to get it. Everybody just got their priorities messed up. Even though I work in a sneaker store and this is how I feed my kids, it's still a little crazy. I try to train my kids. Sneakers ain't everything.
The mass production of these Jordans is what's causing people to get these trainers by any means necessary. This kind of addiction alone is dangerous for society.
You no longer want it. Sleep outside for days for a pair of J's, then you sleep outside forever cause you got sprayed.